Welcome, everyone. This is part of my Interviews with Veterans film series, and I'm so honored to have RICO Emerson with us, who also is known as Richard Emerson. I just learned that recently, but I've always known you as RICO. RICO's career spans 37 years as of next year, I think, and that's really impressive, RICO. I think
As of this year.
as of this year, oh my
As
gosh.
of this year. So
So I was like, I don't even know which credits to list because Rico's done it all. You've seen all his work on TV and features. Most recently, you've probably seen Slumberland, It, Suicide Squad, Priscilla, so many fantastic films. And Rico is a key grip. And grip department is the department I know the least about. And I count on them probably the most for safety, really for safety. And just to have like, I don't know if you get this a lot, Rico. Like you're like the calm, steady voice on set.
I panic when I'm at home. But I lose it. But when I'm on a film set, I find that, yes, although we're human and everyone has moments, and I do have my moments, you just try to stay as calm and as poised as possible because there's a lot going on. And
Yeah.
there's always a lot going on, and there's a lot of noise always, and you have to learn to just siphon out all the other white noise and focus on the noise that pertains to you. And I think it's a key thing when you're on set to be able to do that. The voice of your boss or your people, to be able to hear their voices amounts to everyone else's.
It's so amazing because I see you observing everything on set, and which I kind of do too. But it's I could see that I could see your wisdom. Just you're standing there, all knowing, all seeing.
I'm kind of a quiet person by nature. When I'm not on a film set, I don't really say much when I'm out in gatherings and stuff like that. I'll be social, but I'm not a chatter. I'm an observer, is what I consider myself. So it took a lot to adjust to the role of being a key on set, in front, up close and personal, and being responsible for stuff. So it took me a minute to sort of get past and to be able to be vocal, sometimes too much, but to be vocal about things and to speak up and speak out about things on
Oh,
set, because we're all in it. And I worked once with a pretty credible actor who said, it takes a village, and it really does. The hours, the time together, you sort of become this really tight knit community. And I learned early that everyone leans on everyone,
mhm.
and a lot of people lean on the key grip. So, yeah. So I just adjusted. I was young. I was fortunate. I was still in my years of being able to be molded. I learned my craft right out of film school from a deceased key grip, Bill Hines, God rest his soul,
Oh, all
uh,
right.
who was incredible.
Yeah.
Um, and ironically, in my career, is the only key I've ever worked for.
That's what I want to ask you about. You went to Humber College, which is one of the big film schools still in Toronto. And
Yeah,
then you basically did one best boy job and then you became a key, which is unheard of. I want you to
that was
tell us
insane.
about that. Yeah.
Um, Carpe diem, as they say. I graduated Humber Film School after university, and it was the time of the business when cable and MTV and VH1 and Showtime and all of these and cable had just started. So there was an incredible appetite for product, as we would call it. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I got out of film school in summer 1987. I worked a couple of jobs as a PA, and I got a couple of music videos, and I got an offer to go be a third on a TV series that was on hiatus. And at those times, most technical crews were three-man crews. They were
Wow.
a key or a gaffer and two people, a lot less equipment. And 2 weeks after I started my first real job as a grip, I was the third. the best boy left, who was also from Humber, and there was a few Humber people on the show, and JP Lockrer, who's also passed away, got arrested.
Yes,
So
sorry,
he's
PG.
my guy. He hooked me up with Bill Hines, and he really got me the job as a grip, which I had not much idea about. And 2 weeks after I started, Scotty, who was the best boy, he left to go work at City TV. And he got a job as a camera operator at City TV. So off he went, and I got upgraded. And baptism by fire. Uh, I stayed with Bill Hines. We did a new series in 1988. And in the beginning of 1989, he was offered another show. And basically, the way it worked in equipment, he handed the one series off to me. And went off to do the other show. And Cats and Dog was that show.
Oh,
It was the new Rin Tin Tin show at the time. So yeah, I went off and I started a year, year and a half out of film school. I was a key grip on an American TV series because it was for U.S. stations. I was total American production. We shot on film. And these are guys who had done like huge series in the 60s
oh my God.
and were a big part of Hollywood. I mean, these cats had gone way back. So it was like with all these cigar smoking Hollywood old timers, I'm this new kid working as a key grip, and I had a good grandma and she gave me good advice. And I seized the day, and I started to surround myself with people, some of whom are still with me today. And it's their full-time job working on the RICO Grip Crew because we work all year
You
long.
do.
I don't pretend to be I'm a this guy or I'm a that guy. I'm a filmmaker. I work on anything. If I'm interested in it, I work on it. If I need money and it's the one job available, I'll do it, and I'll do it to the best of my ability. But I don't consider myself a feature guy. I get a lot of that from productions that I go to, and I say, well, my first response now is like, you're obviously not reading my resume because, you know, I've worked on $5 million movies, which were great experiences.
Yeah,
Hey,
like
and I've
Priscilla,
worked
right?
on $100 million movies, which are great experiences too. So for me, it's all about the experience. It's more about the experience. The job is the job. And obviously shows that have more money have the ability to do more things. So if you're interested and challenged by that, great. But it's not worth it to me if the experience isn't good.
Hey, listen, I'm the same. I'm the same. I've worked in so many countries because I like that whole vibe of going on a smaller movie and going somewhere far away and trying something.
Absolutely. There's a thousand ways to skin a cat. I mean,
Yeah.
unlike script supervisors, key grips don't get to travel as much anymore because of CGI. But it's great to go see how other people do it. One of the
I
movies I just did was The Apprentice, which is about to be released. Um, and it was a totally European vibe. And they had a way of doing it for the first time ever. And I don't remember when I didn't carry a dolly. And I
Why is
thought,
that?
this ought to be interesting. But true to their word, everything was handheld. It was very, docudrama kind of style. And when the cameraman, who also operated, wanted to put the camera down, and he would. But they had planned this whole thing out from a stylistic point of view. And having got to the end of it, I was glad I did it because the experience it was great. The acting I thought was incredible. I hope it does well. I'm not politically oriented one way or another, but I do like common sense, and I do like peace in the world.
Mhm.
And I come from a mixed background and a mixed culture, and I see how much that has grown in the decades since I've been a kid, uh, and I don't want that to stop.
I want to ask you about that because when I got to the industry, it was a little bit after you, and it was so white, like scary white to me, and I'm white. So I was like, I felt uncomfortable for about the first 4 years. I didn't feel like I fit in, and maybe that's me. But I wondered how you feel as a key of color.
Um, I was proud and determined. Um, One of my very first shows in IA, which was in 2000, which was significant for me because it was a change of a millennium, and I had just come over to IA right at the beginning of 2000.
Oh.
I had turned down an offer prior to come. I did not like the politics of it. And, I'd had years in ACFC and NABED prior.
Mhm.
So I had some experience when I came over, but yes, even when I got into the business in the production office, on the floor, anywhere, there were not a lot of ethnic people. That has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. I've noticed, obviously, that when I go to the US to work, it was never the case.
Mhm.
There were already people, but then it's a much bigger society, it's much broader, all the other things. And I just found, as part of my experience, like you mentioned to me in an email, this was a really closed society.
Yeah.
I've had some interesting experiences along the way. Um, and it's always kept me straight. And I tell people now, and young people of color, and young people of different ethnicities, carpe diem. This is your moment. This is your time. My experience in the film industry is that things come and go in waves.
I'm so
And
glad you said that because this generation is experiencing this downturn in work and they're panicking. And I'm telling them, no, it's always waves.
it's a wave. It's a wave. I'm watching it. I'm watching it in the discussions with PMs. I'm watching it in the discussions with producers. I'm watching it in the approach. Um, I work in this industry more than just a pair of hands. Uh, I'm not political. I'm not a big union person. I don't want to be, but I'm very wary of the world around me. I'm very wary of economics. I'm really interested in watching turns in, you know, in the industry. I've seen the cinema come and go and come and going again.
It sounds like gripping chose you rather because I learned something interesting when we were in the DR. You said you originally were thinking of sound editing. Me too.
Well, I came out of Humber as a director editor, right? And that was my thing. And I had done some sound work as part of the necessity of the program. And there were a lot of good people in the years around me, and a lot of people within a 5 year range at Humber have turned out to be real mainstays in the
Oh
industry.
yeah, like Frank Siracusa.
Frank Siracusa, Angelo Colavecchia, Johnny Colavecchia, Dean Stinchcombe, Scotty Phillips,
Drew
Frank
Potter. Yeah.
Perkins,
Yeah.
the perks, the list goes on. On and on and on. It produced some J.P. Lockerer, has produced some decent filmmakers. And yeah, I'm a key grip, but I'm also a filmmaker because I'm part of the process. And anybody to me who's part of the process is a filmmaker.
I totally agree with that. I wanted to ask you how you define what the role of a key grip is, because I love everyone. I know there's an official one, but I'd love to hear your take.
Well, I can read you from this coaster
Okay.
that someone found in a bar somewhere and brought it to me. And it says, interesting film fact. The key grip is a chief grip who works directly with the gaffer in creating shadow effects for set lighting and who supervises camera cranes, dollies, and other platforms or supporting structures according to the requirements of the director of photography.
Do you think that's accurate?
It's pretty close
Yeah.
because, yes, I take all the light away. I create all the shadows. We control the light, right? Whether it's natural or artificial, and by natural I mean the sun. and the telehandlers, or or the pettibones as they're called in the US, and the silks, and sometimes the construction crane. So we do all of that, and then we put the camera wherever they want us to and however they want to move it. It's also our responsibility. But the part of it that it touched on, it says platforms or supervising structures. And a lot of people may not know and understand. We do all the green screen and blue screen work. We build all the supports for the light boxes. We put all the motors in. We run all the backdrops. We put them on all the curtain tracks, and then we start shooting. And then someone has a problem, and we step in and we go, "You need a hand? Maybe if you added this, or we have a thing, you." So it's like all encompassing, and it really is. It takes up the entire day. It makes time go by. I sort of nestled into it early, and I thought, I could do this. It wasn't where I intended to go in life. I fell into film out of injury. And and the road to following my father's footsteps would have taken me back to high school to do sciences. And I thought, yeah, you know what, one and one and one and one, and it all started adding up. And I took a chance, and I got into film because I'd done a lot of stage work and stuff in high school, and I played music, and I was always part of entertainment. And so I got into it, and the lid blew off, the cover blew off, man. It just has been a whirlwind. Um, it's been a whirlwind a lot of years.
I
Yeah.
feel that you and I both, we are so blessed to be in Toronto. I don't know if we could have gotten any luckier in any other city.
Look, I've been up for, where are we? The end of summer 2024. So, okay. So now I've done 35 years as a key grip.
Wow.
I've been a key grip longer than some of the people on my crew.
Have been alive. Yeah.
I caught the last wave of the old timers. I was lucky for that because there was a discipline that they had and worked with that has been altered along with life and culture and everything else. Being always kind of a rebel, I sit back and I think, I remember when I was 16 and 17 and 19, and I had all these brilliant ideas. And none of them seemed to match my parents' ideas. And I get to the same stage in life now, and you think, well, this is their turn, right? It's an evolution. I was always amazed at my grandmother because my grandmother was born in 1915. I would always say to her, "What do you think about all this shit now? What do you think about the computer? And what do you think about all this stuff? And you press a button, and like you've watched it all, like electricity, blah blah. Coming from a rural area in a third world country, and now living in the in the first world. So I've had my share of that. So catching the end of the old timers taught me discipline, a discipline I don't see today a lot.
I agree with you.
And not just how people behave, but how people work. And I won't get in too much into it because sometimes it kind of makes you think, well, if you got time and money for that, how come you can't, give us more? How come you can't make conditions better? One thing I will say out loud is, COVID hit us, and it changed our headspace. And we all wrote the section 21 or whatever it was, and we were all part of that. We're all said, life's got to change, and it has to be life. And here we are 4 years later. And guess what? We're doing long hours again.
Yes. Well, I don't know if you saw that study I did. I went through all the obituaries of our union, and 51% of IATSE members die by the age of 60. So you've beat the odds, Rico. And
Yeah. No, look, that's me. Um, I'm tired all my life of people telling me can't do this, you can't do that. You know, it just gives me drive to do more. You know, so to all my naysayers out there, God bless you. Keep up the good work. I'm gonna do what I do. You know me, I've always done what I do, and I do it how I do it, and I do it without malice.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but they call you, Scotty, and Angelo the Holy Trinity, right? When producers,
Really?
you didn't, you didn't know that?
No, this is look. Here's one thing about me. There's a lot of people don't. I don't gossip a lot. I don't listen to. And half of that's because I'm stuck paying attention to what's going on by the camera and stuff. But as a person, I'm not into that. So I know nothing about. I don't know who's working on what. I don't know who's working, who's not working. I'm like in this box, and it seems full right now. So, but yeah, that's interesting to know. That's very funny.
It's a producer. I can't remember which producer. I think it's one that we've worked with a lot. Told me that, and I laughed and I said, "What does that make me, Mary Magdalene?" But I only get to work with you. I only get to work with you guys sometimes because I'm the opposite of you in the sense that I choose to do 1 to 2 movies a year. That's all my body can take.
Yeah, no, I'm getting there. Trust me. But I think part of the joy that you have and that I have is every now and again you run back up with people, and you hit up with people again. And I did a commercial the other day, and I knew the producer, Mary, and I didn't see her much because it was a one day she was kind of busy. And at the end, she was leaving and she saw me. And I gave her a big hug, and she's like, I love seeing you. You're always happy and stuff. I go, Mary, look, when I see you, it's a prideful moment because I said we're still in the game, and we're still playing, and we're still up there, and we're still competing with everyone. And I think, look, you got to have some drive in life. I see what you're doing, and I must say, like, what big up, Daniela, like the effort that you put back in is like, you're one of a kind. And it's amazing to see someone who's caring,
Oh.
someone who wants to leave behind all the tools.
I
Oh
do
my
want to
God.
leave behind all the tools because that is one
Yeah.
thing, like, and I want to leave it better than I had it, not worse.
Yeah, a lot of people I work with say, "Oh yeah, blah blah. Yeah, I did Daniela's course or whatever," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, well you all right then." you know, you all right then.
Oh, stop. Oh, that's
So,
funny. No, no,
no,
I love it.
yeah, I totally agree with you. Like blessed is, you can't describe how blessed I feel, even when I feel crappy. I always go, well, what's wrong with you, man? Like, you're doing what you want. My father was a Marine engineer, very nomadic life, not home a lot. It's ironic I end up in the same thing. I mean, we're not as bad as DOPs who never
Yeah,
are home,
never home.
but not home a lot, meaning like the hours, the hours that you spend on set. It's a lot of your life. It's
I
a,
want to talk about your team because you also have one of the best teams in the business. And actually, you were
look,
the first a key grip that I ever saw hire a female grip, and she's amazing too.
look, uh, two things. I stand on the shoulders of my peeps. I mean, without them, and I remember having this argument to do a big movie at the time, and I wasn't part of the union that was doing it, and I wanted to bring a couple of people with me, and they said no, and
Oh.
I was adamant, and I walked away from the project, which ended up not doing so well, ironically. Um, and part of that experience was the PM, kind of like telling me that this was the biggest opportunity in my career, and I would never have this opportunity again. And of course, I was in the middle of some other movie and had to go to set, and I was like, look, I can't do this. I don't do this by myself.
Mhm.
I gotta have people with me, or I can't do it. And she was like, blah blah blah, and I was like, well, look, this interview is over. I gotta go to work,
Nice.
and I walked away from it, and I didn't join the union at the time, and the movie didn't do really well. And I am part of that union now, proudly, I must say.
Yeah.
And I'm about to hit 25 years in IA. I hope that at the end of the day, I leave, we work in a manner, we have a discipline, we emphasize having fun. Uh, you can teach people how to do stuff to a certain degree. But man, if you can't get along, how we all gonna sleep in the same tent together? Yeah, you know what I mean? So I always factor that. I love having female grips. They
Nice.
work so hard. And I go back to the 90s, and I think Lisa Logan
Oh.
would probably have been the first female grip that I've had on my crew. And I'm proud to say right now, both my shooting third and my rigging third are both young women.
Nice.
They're amazing technicians. They are so qualified, way more than the guys. And they got bigger cojones than a lot of the guys. And my shooting third, I mean, she must be about 5'2", but she works like she's 6'7".
Is that Sylvia?
No, Sylvia has moved on.
Oh my God.
Sylvia is a firefighter now. I
Yeah.
mean, hands down, one of the best grips I've ever worked with, Sylvia Pernides. The only grip they let me take to the Dominican, other than the dolly grip and the best boy, and they chose her because she was so good at what she did in every form and fashion. And Alexis, who's my third now, is the same. I mean, drives the
Oh,
telehandlers, pushes the dolly, does the rigging now, the camera on the cars. We push her, we push her, we push her. We chose her. It was funny. We interviewed like 6 women, and we said, "Hey, we have a spot on the crew. Once you hook up with us, it's like an internship. You're not going anywhere else because we have enough work to make you happy
yeah.
financially, and but you got to learn." And so we chose her, and man, what a gem. And it's
Oh my
been,
God.
Diane Haggerty, Sylvia. There's always been someone. Women work hard. They're usually more responsible than the guys are. So yeah, and they're smart, and I find they pick stuff up easily, and they're dying to learn, and they're dying to do it, and they have so much to prove. I mean, I'm not a woman, I'm not speaking as one, but they want to do it.
That's great. Because yeah,
Yeah,
like literally, you were the first person I saw to give women those opportunities.
always a lady there. And now, and the best part, they know what food to get. They're always foodies. They know what's good to eat. They're like, but yeah, the ladies, Fatima, who's the rigger, they always know which are the great restaurants to go to, where's to buy this, to buy that. No, yeah, big up
Awesome.
all the women that do it. And I stand out on set and I see more and more women in the technical departments. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
and people come and go, but I'm referring to people who are sticking with it, and there's definite increase.
Yes. Yes. It's opened up. It doesn't feel like a secret club anymore. It feels like everybody can access it.
Yeah, for a long time I tried to come up with the idea to push us in high schools because a lot of kids, and that's where it needs to start from,
Yep.
right? And we're going through a tough time right now because we didn't focus on training. So we're going through a phase now where there's a lot of people who should have deeper skills that don't, that are members, but it's going to take another cycle to get past that. I mean, we're training better now and doing all this stuff, and having people's licensed, and so it's going to take a minute, but we fell short on training. But it's great to see the opportunities, and in the technical trades more than anything else, because there's always been women producers, women production managers, accountants, ads, everyone, the art department, some of the painters have been women, but it's great to see more and more women being carpenters, more and more women being grips or electrics or special effects. There's more and more women in props. I've noticed more and more the props masters now, or
In directing
prop mistresses.
and
There's more and more
DOPing.
female directing everywhere. More and more female ADs, and it's about time, you know.
I was really shocked to learn how much Scotty interacts with the director, actually. I wondered if like what your workflow is in prep, is it gaffer, DOP, and director, or how do you work that flow when you're getting ready to?
Now we're right beside, you know.
Yeah,
The spotlight always seems to go to the gaffer, which is fine by me. But
they
so
don't run
much
the
of,
spotlight.
you know, so much of what they're able to do is based on what we can do for them. But especially prep is, to me, is the most important time, because that's when is 9 out of 10 times it's people you've never worked with before. So you got to get their confidence. You got to get inside their head. You got to understand them. You gotta understand when the guy is saying Jack went up the hill. You know, the crane's there. You know what I mean? And so how they want to work, and it makes it easier. Or else you're just stumbling all the time. You know, so after like a day or two, and you're getting a feel, and you're hearing, and you're paying attention, and you're listening to how they're describing the language of the movie, because to us in the technical department, the film has a language other than just words. And as a grip, it's the language of how we're going to shoot it. It's the language of how we're going to light it. So prep is a great time and an important time to understand that. But so, yeah. And so you listen, and you hear them talk about shots, and, you know, unless you've got that feeling where you can openly say stuff, I would talk to the DOP and say, you know, I heard so and so mentioning the thing, you know, we could do that, or this is available here, that's available here. I try to let them know what tools they have that we have access to, so that they can use it, because I'm in there like 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks before shooting begins, depending on the budget.
Yep.
So you're able to have conversations and discuss things and be part of meetings and have suggestions, because there's many things that are involved in filming, what the stunt guys are doing, what the lighting guys are doing, what we want to do, where the motors are going, to pick points, the weight, the this, the load. It's so much stuff. So in prep, you sort of get onto like a one-on-one with them, and you
Yeah,
try to do your best that you can, because you're able to see things too in the moment and make changes and offer things, or say, oh, you know, if you want to be this low, we got this. We don't have to rent something. This is something, you know, because budgets are a big part, and costs are a big part of what we do. So yeah, it's all on a one-on-one, but we tend to often be in the shadows, which is fantastic, because we create the shadows and
yeah.
then we just retreat into the shadow. But you know, we're as a major part of any production as a gaffer is,
Yeah.
as a first assistant, AC is, you know, as a key props master.
Do you guys have to fill out budgets, or is that who does that? Like for your
Well, they kind of let you know, but no, we don't do specific. The riggers may have to, but and the shooting crew, we don't. And I mean, our basic run is you have your package, this is what it costs. Can we afford it? Great. We load it up and off we go. The rest of it are add-ons, really. Can you
okay.
afford the crane? Can you afford the condor? Can we afford the light box? Can we afford the crane? All of that's an add-on of which they have money budgeted.
Yeah.
But I do understand what everything costs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do know, like, you know, look, it's 14 grand or whatever for the crane and the big silk, but man, like, we're going to be able to shoot this, you know, one scene, depends on again, you know, or protect something.
Because you also know the labor involved, like besides the gear, you know the labor cost.
Yeah, you know, it's going to take the riggers probably X amount of people, this amount of time. You know, is this something we have time for? And this is another part of it. If I don't feel like the budget or the time allows us to do something, I try to look for an alternative,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
We can't do that. So let's stop talking about it. Let's focus on what we can do. What if we did this? What if we did that? And that's a huge part of my job. And it's a huge part of what we do in prep because I'm there in all the meetings
Yeah.
and I speak up when I have to because
I always
involvement.
say that prep is when we crawl around inside the director's head and figure out the kind of movie they want to make. And then each
Yeah,
department, that affects each department differently. But like, yeah, it's about the flow of information that's going to save
absolutely.
your troubleshooting, your anticipating, your problem solving, all of that.
Yeah, you do, I do. We listen for keywords. Keywords indicate certain actions and certain approaches. I listen for words like dark and moody, and we crane up, and all these things are said in prep. And I want the camera to be always moving. And so, if you're paying attention, you pick up on this stuff, and you start to get an idea of, okay, this is how we're going to fly.
Do you find that prep time is eroding in the modern age?
Absolutely.
Mm.
The problem is that we've gone to such a digital way of doing things, and it's immediate in its function, but there are things get missed because you have to spend that time communicating. You have to spend that time talking about it. You have to spend that time together discussing stuff.
Yeah.
I am tired of hearing, well, we sent you an email. Yo, I'm on set. If I'm not in front of the laptop like you are, or
Yeah.
the desktop, I'm on set. Come talk to me. You'll get an answer. I'll answer you like right away. I'm that kind of person. I don't like to hang people. If I have an answer, I'll tell you. Uh, but we've lost that with the digital influence because people think, well, you can just do it by computer or you can send an email. And so then you hit these shrunken prep times, and now you get to camera and, oh shit, well, we didn't really talk about this, or, it, we never really decided, is this the week before or the week after? You know
And
what I
plus,
mean? All these things start to happen. You see it, I see it.
it's crazy to me. These new producers, I'm saying these new producers, sorry, new producers, learn from this. I see them thinking they're saving money by shrinking prep, but that's the cheapest part of production. Once we're on set, a mistake could cost us tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands.
Or you never got the time to discuss how it was we're going to do this. So now you're depending, and you've been there, and I've been there, and the department shows up, and the stuff they got, it ain't working. And now what? Now we're gonna shoot around it, or now we're gonna, because
Or
we
lose the
really,
scene, just
you
lose what the
know,
director wanted. Yeah.
and you hear the guy going, this is not what I asked for. Then the dude goes, I asked who? Nobody said anything to me. The broken chain, right? This is what happens. COVID and tech, COVID made it worse, but it had already started. And people expect you, because you have a phone, that you're at their immediate fingertips, even though you're not in that role like you are. You're sitting on set, listening, paying attention. I don't know how you guys do it. I can't focus that much. That's why you see me walking around. I can't sit still. And I get to see things that I wouldn't if I was just stuck there. But the focus you guys have to, I mean, you can't deal with anything till wrap.
We don't wear a walkie. So you have the whole life of what's going on behind that I have no idea what's going on behind. And you've got to see what's on set and off set at the same time.
You have to kind of listen to them and not listen to them.
The
Yeah,
idea of wearing a walkie like
oh,
scares me.
man.
Um,
And now DPs want us all to wear these headsets,
yes.
which like we usually wear when we're on the cranes. So now you got that on one side, the walkie on the other side, and then the real world coming at you.
What, okay, so like if you had your say, because you've probably dealt with all different workflows from directors and from DOPs, what is your favorite workflow on set?
I like that if we prepped,
Mhm.
and no matter what it is we're doing or how huge it is we're doing, that when we come to set, we come to set to execute. We come to set because we thought about this, and obviously there's going to be the curveball that gets
Yeah.
thrown at you, especially if you're on location or weather or something. But that's my workflow. We come, we block, they say, you know, and you noticed and I've noticed it went from, blocking for the keys. And so the keys came and saw, and now they say crew blocking. And they really mean us, but because they say crew blocking, there's now 40 people on set,
Or actors. Yeah.
and the offset painter and the truck person from wardrobe, they're all watching the blocking. You're like, why? So now, that whole sort of system has broken down. And I find it affects because the communication part of it is screwed. And it takes longer now. And now we have to have the safety meetings, and now the AD goes over everything. And that's sort of like a way of pulling it sort of back in, because there was a time, you and I know, there was a blocking. We went on set, the director showed us, they said, we're going to shoot a master, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. And off we went. And we did those things, and if luckily we saw something else, we would do it. But there was a plan. Now you just kind of show up and you're like, half the time with the blocking, you can't see, you can't hear, it's crowded, you're stuck outside. So you come on and you go, okay, where's the camera going? Which way are we looking first? Because you miss all of those things because we've now been invaded by the crew. So, but it's like the information. We set up the scene. This is it. Crane here first. Blah blah. This is day. We all know that. We've all got notes from prep. We're not exactly starting from scratch, because most of the times we have pre-calls, and for us, it's not just to offload, but to help us get towards our first setup. And off we go. And we set up the camera, and they rehearse. I feel like once the camera and the lighting set, floor is the directors.
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
This constant coming in and touching and changing is like, they sat through an hour of us working, and we want them to do their thing in 15 minutes. You know what I mean? And I don't find that's fair.
When you're lighting and setting up, are you constantly in flow with the gaffer or the DOP, or both? I don't know your secret world back there when you guys are.
Yeah, I know what they're doing, because what they're doing affects me. How he's going to light affects me. And I don't like to play from behind.
Yeah.
I like to be part of it. So I'm there. I spend a lot of time on set for that reason. I don't like information secondhand, because sometimes it's not translated properly. And so I'm like the old British system, so to speak, or the old American system. We do the blocking. The DP says first shot's going to be 25 mil here, 25 mil here on the dolly. Let's put down some dance floor. We're going to do a little push in, maybe a little thing to the right. And we start talking about lighting. He starts talking about lighting with the gaffer, but I'm part of that conversation. Yeah. I'm not talking to him about the lights, but I want to know what the lights are doing. Yeah. Is it going to be hard light? Is it going to be soft light? And all these things I would have learned in prep already from questions that I would ask, or questions that I ask in interviews, because I want to get as much information as I can before I hit the floor, so that when I hit the floor, I'm moving in a direction that I know is positive, and I'm not guessing.
I love this, because this is exactly how I train my script supervisors. It starts in the interview. You're starting to ask the questions and discern what's going to be required of you in the interview. It's also how you get the job sometimes, but it all starts there. And then you can decide if you want to be on that ride or not.
Yeah, you have to. You got to get information in the interview. You may not get all the information, and guaranteed an interview is an interview. And 6 weeks into it, you're like, whoa, this person really is somebody different. But that's part of the game. That's part of the game. And I always, we talked about experiences before. I appreciate bad experiences. I really do, because I learn more from bad experiences than I learn from good experiences. Because if I'm having a good experience, everyone's doing, and we're doing stuff right, and it's because we know what we're doing. When I learn from a bad experience, I may learn that's something I don't want to do. And it helps me appreciate great experiences and good experiences. So when you hit that project and you're on that movie and you have a great time, and Look, we just did chapter 3 of it. It was like 194 days of main unit. But we had a fantastic time. We had a fantastic time. We had a few ruffles in the beginning, and then miraculously, sort of things kind of smooth out. And you're like, we were in the grind, we were in the trenches, we were doing long hours, we were traveling, but we never fell apart as a crew. And you've been there, and I've been there. It's terrible when you fall apart as a crew because you go to work and you really don't want to be there.
Yes, it's a lot of time to be on someone else's clock because it's not about the money, really. Like the money is always going to, we're in one of the last good jobs, I think. Like, I want people who are thinking of quitting the industry, because listen, there's a lot of them right now, to stop and think what you're going to miss if you leave.
Let
Because
me tell you something, people. If you work in this industry and you can manage to make yourself somewhat of a full-time employee, and about a full-time employee, I mean, listen, you're a human being. I'm a human being. Johnny next door is a human being. They work 40 hours a week. They work 50 weeks a year. Yeah, that's life. They own their home. You own your home. There's no difference between you. You know, it's just what you do for a living. And you look at your wages. I know a lot of working people. They don't make the money we make.
no, yeah.
And at the end of the day, this is a great business. If you don't like normality, if you don't like the same thing every day, and you're willing to give of your time, this is a great business because you work on great projects, you meet really great people, you meet your heroes from, even though you may not be a film buff as a child or something, you end up working with that person. It's a thrill. You
Oh.
know, one of my greatest memories is working with Sidney Poitier and
Oh.
Charles Bronson. They weren't great big budget movies, but they were like movie stars when I was a kid. And you're like, oh my God, I'm telling dude, we can put the camera there, sir. You know,
I
sometimes you
wanted
got
to ask you because you must have had so many incredible moments. Do any stand out so far?
every moment stands out. I mean, and some I forget. A lot of them I forget, and then I'm reminded of something, and I go, "Oh yeah!" And so many great moments. You know, working with Sidney Poitier and that movie was fantastic. Working with Charles Bronson was fantastic. You know, doing Suicide Squad, doing all these Butterbox Babies, which is a great movie I
Oh,
did
yeah.
years ago. You know, iconic films. Get Rich or Die Trying with 50 Cent and the Adam McGoyan movies and so many great people, so many great memories, so many things. I'm known for smiling, and quite often I get asked, people go, "What are you smiling about?" 9 out of 10 times, Daniela, it's because I remembered something, and I remembered a moment, you know, and I remembered, oh shit, I remember that now, you know. Crazy working with Kevin Bacon and Russell Crowe and Michelle Pfeiffer and doing Hairspray and all these incredible moments that I feel so tremendously lucky. Look, I'm an island boy. I come from the southern hemisphere, you know. Mi papá es venezolano, so I'm half Latino, and I've lived, you know, because of my father's job and the way we lived in so many countries as a kid. And I come here, and now I'm in this thing. It's just like this incredible journey, and the sad part is that someday it has to end. But I'm going out kicking and screaming. I'm telling you.
I was gonna say, are you ever gonna retire?
I don't know. I think about it a lot more.
Yeah.
My body reminds me of it a lot more. And it's one of the great parts of the evolution of life is that as you go from decade to decade to decade, things become have different importance.
Mhm.
And you think about things differently than you did 15 years ago. And things you never thought of before, you start thinking about a lot now. And I have to be honest and say, as an observer of life, I noticed that when I turned 40, I noticed that when I turned 50, I noticed that when I turned 60, and the things I think about now are not the same things. Well, I think about them, but in a different manner. So, you know, and you have to be willing to evolve with life because you can't stop it. That's the one thing I've learned. You cannot stop time. You can't stop time. No matter what you do, it just keeps ticking. Whether you're broken, whether you're half broken, or you're in great shape, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. And then at the end of the day, what is it? To me, it's a collection of moments
Oh, just like a movie.
and my life. And I've been fortunate to work in an industry that is so financially lucrative, that has been rewarding financially. I have to say, in all honesty,
Yeah.
because I compare this not against my peers, but I compare this against the rest of the world. I
Yeah.
compare this against the same people I hop on the subway with or I hop on the bus with, right? We're good. We're doing well. It
And
comes
your
with its.
job and my job, they never taught us about this in film school.
No, I had no idea. I had zero idea. And JP Locker, God rest his soul, I was gonna say, I would call him at like 3 in the morning and I would cuss him out. And I would say, this is all your effing fault, bro. I'm standing here in the middle of somewhere. It's raining. It's 3:30 in the morning. You know, I used to say, I was gonna be an editor, bro. I was gonna be an editor. I could have been home for dinner and driving a Saab. And to the day he died, I swear to God, every now and again I would call him at random in the middle of the night and I cuss him out. It
David
became a
Perkins
joke.
is to blame for me. David Perkins and Ross Clyde, because I got fired on my first day ever on set by Bill Shatner on a union set. Um, First day, and the producers wouldn't let me leave. They said, no, no, you can't. No one is going to work with him. You have to stay. And I was crying. And Ross Clyde said, you're only in the film business from when you get fired. And he put a bottle of champagne on top of my notes, spilled it all over my notes, and said, welcome to the film business. Perkins had marched into ACFC. I was 23. He had marched into ACFC and said, you need Daniela Saioni on your roster. Like it's, and I sometimes will go, it's
Uh,
all your fault, Perkins.
there's been so many great people. There's been so many quality people that
Yeah.
you meet in life. And what is life? You know, life is the life we live. It's not what we do for
Yeah.
work, you know. Work affords us life and you have to live. And part of living is people. And like you, I've met great people. I was at a sad occasion a week ago for Rick Forsyth, but I
Mm.
ran into so many people I hadn't seen in years and so many people whose embrace and emotion was so heartfelt and was so genuine. And you're like, damn, you know, this is who we are. This is where we are. You know,
Who we are. You're gonna make me
it,
cry, Rico.
it means nothing to the guy at the bank because he's like, I can give a shit what you have on your shelf, bro. You know, how much did you make? But for us, it's like it's everything. You know,
Yeah.
it's everything. I say to producers, you want to be with crew, it's not about money. Just tell them thanks at the end of the day. You will see how far that will take you. If you just
Yeah.
say thank you to people and people feel appreciated, big difference. Big difference.
You have a unique experience. Well, you work on Oscar-winning movies, but you worked with Sarah Polley and Sofia Coppola. What is that experience like compared
Oh
to
my God, like two of the greatest experiences of my film career.
yeah.
I mean, I worked with Sarah. I worked with Sarah when she was really young, like a kid. And
Me
I
too.
kept, you know, sometimes I say to her, she'd be go, what you looking at? I go, you know, you really can't talk to me like that. Like, I worked with you when you were a child, you know. But here I was, and she was a director, and she was phenomenal. She was great. The movie was great. We came out of a big effects movie and we went to a movie about acting and we sat there as technicians every day and we enjoyed just sitting there and watching live theater and she was incredible. Sofia Coppola, my God, like an angel, like someone who from day one drove the message of unity, drove the message of we were all doing this together, taught a lot of us how to play pickleball, built us a pickleball court in the studio. We had a tournament. We had a trophy. We had announcers at the games. We had music playing all day long. I'm not saying it's a requirement, but it was just her way. And everyone was so comfy. And like people like that, I've found technicians will walk a million miles for.
I was going to ask you, like, if you had any advice for filming, because we have a lot of directors, but also directors in the audience watching on YouTube. Like, do you have any advice for them? You just gave it, but is there anything else you want to say?
Just embrace your people. Choose the people that you want to work with. Choose the people that you're willing to get along with and spend time and listen to. Know that you're not always right,
Yeah.
and learn to draw on the experience of the people that you surround yourself with, and be comfortable knowing that those people have the ability to give you what you envision as a director. You know, even though it may be challenging, you know your people and you have confidence in your people, and your people will walk backwards for you. I'm telling you, I've seen it over and over and over again. And when the director knows the name of the location's PA, and
Yeah.
he says hi to the craft lady, and he says hi to the, to the grip, the fourth grip, or knows his name, man,
Yeah.
those people feel like $1 million. And I'm speaking from my own experience. When you feel like you're being appreciated, you give.
Never underestimate the value and the like your technical crew, your grips, your electrics. Oh my God, your carps. Like they're never underestimate how much they make the movie. Because I've heard people have like, thinking there's artists and there's not artists, right? You guys we're all artists.
Everybody, yo, wait till there's a props screw up, or a wardrobe screw up, or all the people that you diss on, or there's a locations problem, right? Which happens. Oh my God, you see those poor guys sweating, and they're doing like 4 more hours a day than you are, and you're like, damn, they're back, and they're taking it, and they're back the next day, and they're taking it, and they're happy, and it's an incredible environment to work in. It really is.
I had a flashback as you were talking. I had totally forgot about this moment in the DR. I was on the beach, just watching you guys in the water shooting, right? And do you remember this? The camera was starting to go, it was drifting away, and Rico dove for it. It would have ended up somewhere, like who knows where it would have,
Yeah, we got hit by a rogue wave, standing in the water, and everybody went, upside down. And luckily, I managed to hang on to it. I go back to that beach a lot, since
Oh,
then. Yeah,
what?
yeah. I've become, a part-time resident in the town there. Um, I bought a house there. It's
Oh my God.
beautiful. I love it there, and I go to that beach a lot. It's overgrown now,
Mhm.
but the water is still pretty rough.
You risked your life for that camera.
You know, I didn't think about it. It's like when there's been those moments along the way, and there's been a few, you just do things instinctively. But yeah, I just did it.
Like, yeah, talk about your crew going to the wall for you. You could have just let that
Oh
go.
my God, we still laugh and joke about it because I work with Angelo a lot still. He was there. We're still in touch with Russell Carpenter a lot. He was there. We still share, like, emails and text messages and stuff. Yeah, no, it was it was a good thing. It was a great place being there. I enjoyed, DJ, the director.
Oh
I
yeah,
thought he was an incredible human being,
he
you know.
was.
And to me, I look for that, you know. Uh, it's like
Yeah.
you say, you've worked long. I've been here, I've been there. I've met this person, that person, whatever. Like, I'm not impressed when people are trying to impress you.
Yeah, right. Just be
You know what I
human.
mean? It's just like, just do your thing, you know, be happy. It's just our job. It's just our job. And a lot of us need to refocus that this is what we do to earn money, to pay rent, to pay your mortgage, to buy a car, to go on holidays, to have children, to pay for their things. This is our job. And it's a good job. And a lot of us lead a good life. And I don't think a lot of us are appreciative enough about it. And look, we need to stand up for ourselves. We need to do all those things. But at the end of the day, we are employed by someone. We're treated fairly well. for the most part. I think the respect that you get is the respect that you give.
We have to also stand up for ourselves, but also be respectful. Amen to that. That is absolutely true.
Yeah, this is work. You know, we're a carny. We're circus people. You know, if there ain't no circus, what are we gonna do? You know,
Oh, here's a question. Would you have changed anything at all? If you had to start again as 21-year-old Rico, what would you tell Rico?
get out of the business.
No.
I'm probably the same thing. You know, work hard. You know, I come from a generation of very colloquial, you know, terms and sayings like you do in Italian. You know, it's cream rises to the top. You know, hard work pays off. All of those like cliche things. But the fact is, there's truth to them.
Mhm.
You know, it is what it is. I've cheated death a few times. Your time here is your time here. I believe in that, you know, and and I don't know how else to explain when people's clocks run out really early in their lives, and I'm like, you know what, this is how it's meant to be,
Mhm.
you know. So as I get older, I realize, look, we got one time, we got one go around, you know. Have fun, you know. Yeah, there's gonna be problems, guaranteed. Death and taxes, blah blah, all of that stuff. Deal with it, but try to be happy as much as you can. You know, try to enjoy it because what happened yesterday, for example, like you know, you think, you know, I have a kid. What if my kid was that kid? You know, what if he never saw another day? You know, that's it. No fulfillment, no enjoyment, no ups and downs. And and the one thing I learned is life is about living. It ain't always about success or joy or any of that. It's about it all. You have to go through it all, you know, and what's for you is you, you know. You know, Rasta say, you know, Jah don't give man more than him can bear. You
Ah,
know, it's in the Bible, you know, biblical Christian people all have this belief, you know, God doesn't give you more than you can bear. So when you think your problems are terrible and they may be, just think for a minute. There's somebody else who's like, man, so much worse off than you. But it's one time. It's one time. You know, make use of it. Be all you can be. You know, why not be the best at whatever it is that you're doing? Why not want to be the best? Why not strive? Why not enjoy when something works out? Yeah, you're successful. That's a great feeling. You
yeah.
you know, the athlete, everyone will tell you. I understand there's an immediacy in culture and society now, and it seems like young people want everything yesterday, and they think it's all so very easy. You know what? The one thing you can't cheat is life. That's the one thing the computer and the iPad that doesn't help you with is life. And you have to deal with life.
And as you were talking, a lot of the people we've lost flashed before my eyes because we lose people so often and so young in this industry.
It's hard. And like I like you, my parents are elderly, my dad's passed, my mom's not, you know, in the best of health. You know, one day you know it's gonna happen and you know it's gonna happen to you. And you question why, how, where, what, you know. But there is a reality to it. It is going to happen. And sometimes it happens when you don't expect it or you don't want it to, but your time's come. So while you're here, do something.
Do you feel you've left a legacy if you were to go tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I don't know about a legacy, and I don't like to use words like that, but I do know that there are people who have come through me that have gone on and done well on their own, that have stayed in this business. I'm not interested in creating grips, but I'm interested in teaching people about the job and life, because how you live your life sometimes dictates how you do your job. And I'm interested in someone new and young coming to me to do the best job that they can. If you ain't waking up on time, if you don't got your shit together, you ain't gonna do a good job. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm thinking you ain't together, and that's how you live your life. I've let people go because I got tired of hearing the alarm didn't go off. Yo, you know what? Buy another alarm. Guess what, people? I have two alarms still. One goes off and then the other one goes off. Figure out a solution to the problem. I've worked with people, and I don't know who said this once, and it stuck with me forever. It might have been Bill Hines. There are no problems. There's only solutions. And no is an answer. I firmly believe in that. We cannot is an answer, but hell, if we can, we're gonna.
Sometimes we cannot is a life-saving answer too.
Yeah, and that's acceptable. And people live in this fear of saying no, and just towing the line, and so much shit happens as a result of it. But we all have to sort of figure out how we're going to get through this, because the clock ain't stopping.
The clock ain't stopping. Movies are going to keep getting made. For everyone thinking the film industry is dead, forget about it.
When did the depression hit and everything went to shit? There was movies and there was alcohol, right? There'll always be entertainment. It's going to adjust. I said, I grew up going to the drive-in, then the drive-in died, and then cinemas kind of died for a while with the invention of DVDs and beta and VHS and all that. Cinemas died, and then they came as a rebirth, and they came with bigger food stands and game areas and fancy comfortable seats, and it revived and it blew up again for how many years, right? How many years? And now streaming's the new DVD VHS to me, right? Because streaming's now something, and the cinema is dying again, and the money they're making and the money they're spending. I mean, we've done, like, chapter 3 of it was a streaming for Warner Brothers, HBO Max. I mean, the money they spent. We didn't spend, I mean, we shot, longer, but still, I'm sure we spent a good chunk. And now you're hearing people bandy words like, oh yeah, well, we're going to do 9 episodes for streaming, and it's 8, 10, 12, $50 million an episode. And you're like,
wow,
this is $100 million show.
Yeah.
And
you've done a bunch of those. Yeah.
But you're using the gear that we did when bigger movies were a thing. So it's like, now it's come down to that, but there's a big rate discrepancy, and that's a kicker for a lot of people, and I don't understand that. I love the day of cinema when it said, oh yeah, you made $100 million in the box office. Who knows what the streaming numbers are? We're kept in the dark. There were promises made. Promises were never, the business is changing. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's changing. And the one thing that I've learned by being on this planet is life changes. I was a teenager in the 70s, and then it changed to the 80s, and the 80s changed to the 90s, and things changed every time. And the pants I wore as a kid came back as fashion, 40 years later, and stuff changes and evolves, and we're going through it. We may not like it, and our job is to do the best that we can in the circumstances, and to adjust. And the people who are still here and still kicking and still going at it are the people who are adjusting. I work with Andre Pinar sometimes, who's a South African DP that came here years ago. He's a real gentleman, very South African, great DP. He's older than I am. I mean, he's got to be getting closer to 70 than not. And he's still working. And sometimes he says, I'm still thinking, I'm not doing. I'm like, dude, you're doing. It don't matter how much of it you're doing. You're still doing. You're still in the game. Pat yourself on the back. You're competing in a whole new world here, and you're managing to survive. I look forward to being that.
Me too.
I look forward to being that.
Rico, thank you so much. I didn't expect
my
to get
pleasure.
Emotional.
My pleasure.
Stay blessed. Everybody stay blessed, Rico.
Please, stay blessed, everybody.